Okay, we apologize for that. The technical difficulties there. And we should be back online. Okay, welcome to the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge. We are live on WQEE 99.1 FM, the key, home of Southern sports. And I am Richard Holdridge, your host, as we get ready for the high school football preview review show. This is presented by Georgia Alabama Sports Live, and you are listening to us on Home of Southern Sports, WQEE 99.1 FM, the key. Had a lot of fun in the radio station with Ryan O'Neill this morning, as I was part of the Rhino Radio Penitentiary show, and it was a success. It was a lot of excitement. I was really happy to be on the show, and I'm happy to be here on WQEE going live here on Facebook and on live on the radio station right after Rod Peterson, right before Braves Country Today with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. We do have a jam-packed show because I'm going to get into high school football for week 8. I'm going to talk about college football, which teams are on upset alert. Is it Georgia? Is it possibly Georgia? Is LSU on upset alert? I mean, they're a favorite. I'm going to talk about the NFL. Atlanta Falcons, they are taking on the Houston Texans. The Texans are 2-2, but they have one of the hottest rookie quarterbacks in the NFL. And the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Dallas Cowboys. That will be the Sunday night football game. I will get into Major League Baseball playoffs as well. We still don't know the starting pitchers for game 1 of the NLDS between the Atlanta Braves and the Philadelphia Phillies at Truist Park. But let's get right into high school football. All the action that happened last night, to include the Troup County Tigers, as they got the 45-0 victory over Riverdale, and Troup County looking good on the season, 6-1. Logan Sinkfield filled in for injured quarterback Teo Todd. And you know Troup County is just going to reload. With head football coach Tanner Glisson, that is what they do. And they look to play some more games in region play. 6-1. They are 3-1 in the region. They only had the one loss to Stars Mill. They will have a bye. Then they will take on Fayette County, Trinity Christian, and LaGrange. So there is a possible chance that Troup County can get another region title. But it's going to be tough because Trinity Christian is 3-0 on the season, and they're taking on Whitewater. I will get into all the games in Noonan, but we're going to start with all the games that happened last night, including the Polka Way still working in Lochapoka as they get the 39-0 victory over Calhoun. Lochapoka is 6-0 on the season. Down in Columbus at Otis Spencer Stadium, the Spencer Green Wave pushed their record to 5-2 after getting a 50-16 victory over Southwest. The Spencer Green Wave are 4-0 in the region. The remaining games that the Spencer Green Wave have on the schedule include Northeast on the road and Ace Charter on the road. If Spencer wants to try to get their second straight region title, it is going to be a tall task to try to get those tough road victories. At Cadet Stadium last night, the Northeast Raiders, they defeated the Kendrick Cherokees 42-6. Northeast 6-1 on the season, and they are looking good as they are undefeated in region play. Their only loss was to Mary Persons, and that was in the opener. I mean, they beat this is the who's who that Northeast have beaten. The Fitzgerald Purple Hurricane, the runners up in the 2A state championship. They beat the Carver Tigers 25-18, and they beat Ace Charter, one of the top teams in their region. And Northeast is going to take on Spencer on October the 20th. That is a collision course for probably who's going to be winning that region. All right, so that is the games for Thursday. Let's go ahead and get into the games for Friday, week 8 in high school football. Myself and Thrift Behringer are going to be on the campus of Calvary Christian, as it will be the high school game day. I will be calling the Calvary Christian football game tonight against Creekside Christian Academy out of McDonough. And I am pleased to announce that I am going to be broadcasting this game with an up-and-coming broadcaster named Justin Brown, who is a Calvary Christian alumni, and he is a journalist and loves sports and is passionate about sports, and I'm excited to take him under my wings and show him the ropes and just have a good time calling this game against Creekside Christian Academy. Meanwhile, Thrift Behringer and Rick Beach are going to be at Kinnett Stadium for a big region showdown. Harris County taking on Northside. This game could determine who wins the region, although this region is tough. I mean, you still have McIntosh that's taking on Northgate. McIntosh is 5-1. Northgate is 4-2. That is a massive region game as well. And then you have Whitewater taking on Trinity Christian. Carrollton taking on East Coweta 5-1. I'll get into that. That's the GPB game of the week. Matt Stewart should already be in Noonan getting ready to call that game. We talked about it on the morning show this morning, and it was fun. All right, so here's some of the other games down at Otis Spencer Stadium. Thomasville, 3-3 on the season, taking on the Carver Tigers. The Carver Tigers got a bounce-back win last week against Columbus. 40-0. They snapped a 3-game losing streak. And this is a very important region game. Remember, Thomasville defeated Carver 14-13 last year, and that determined Thomasville winning the region and getting a number 1 seed in the playoffs. So this is a game that Carver needs to win. And I think that Carver has what it takes to avenge their loss from last season. Remember, Carver went to the quarterfinals as a number 2 seed. It'd be nice if they can get a number 1 seed. The Carver Tigers taking on Thomasville. The Sheridan Red Jackets still trying to get their first win of the season. They are on the road in Macon, Georgia, taking on Rutland. You have Columbus, 1-5. They are on the road for a region contest, taking on Doherty down in Albany, Georgia. Hardaway, 0-6 on the season. They did have played a tough schedule under first-year head coach Ryan McKenzie. They are on the road against the Syrup Makers of Cairo as they are trying to get their first win in region play. Cairo defeated Shaw last week, 38-0. Shaw is currently on a bye. LaGrange, it is homecoming at Callaway Stadium. Remember, Troup County had homecoming last night. LaGrange has got their homecoming. They are 4-2 as they are hosting North Clayton. LaGrange defeated Riverdale 42-0 last week. So they have an extra day to prepare for this as head coach Matt Napier has got the LaGrange Grangers, one of the top teams in the region, 4-2 as they are trying to ride the ship. They did have a loss to Stars Mill, but this region is wide open. You look at what Stars Mill did, losing to Trinity Christian. And Stars Mill is on the road taking on Fayette County. I expect Stars Mill to win that game. And then let's go ahead and jump over to the Noonan side of the high school area because this is a massive game. It's the GPB game of the week. It's Carrollton taking on East Coweta, and both teams are 5-1. Matt Stewart will have the call on GPB Sports. John Nelson, also sideline reporter, Hannah Goodwin in studio for GPB Sports. I'm so excited about this game. I'm excited that the high school game of the week for the entire state of Georgia has made it to Noonan, and I know that place is going to be rocking. Also, you got the Noonan Cougars on the road up in Douglasville taking on Alexander. Both teams are 2-4. And we talked about Stars Mill, Fayette County. So there you go. And now let's go over to the other side of the river as we have the high school game of the week. Auburn taking on Opelika. Auburn 5-1 on the season after getting a narrow 13-7 victory over the Ramsey Rams, the 5A champions out of Birmingham. The Auburn Tigers taking on the Opelika Bulldogs in Opelika. This is a very traditional rivalry. It feels like it's rivalry week because we do have a lot of rivalry games as well. And then Valley, they are 4-1 after getting a big win over Russell County 40-14. They are taking on Central of Clay County up in Lineville, and that is going to be a big game as well. The Dothan Wolves 5-1 on the season, taking on the Central Red Devils. Central is on a mission to win a state championship. They won one last in 2018 under their head coach, Jamie Dubose. Now head coach Patrick Nix, who's been a quarterback whisperer. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. It could be Jalen Epps from last year, Caleb Nix, his son, Bo Nix, who's playing over at Oregon. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Andrew Alford, the transfer from Brookstone, is having a monster season, 25 touchdowns, as he's looking to be one of the top quarterbacks in the Chattahoochee Valley. And Central is going to continue to roll, but I think Dothan might keep it close. A big shout out to Philip Jordan from the Wiregrass area as he covers Dothan, Alabama, and everything in the Dothan area, to include the Dothan Wolves. I had him on the show earlier this week, and we were previewing this game. He knows a little bit about Dothan. And so I would give Dothan a puncher's chance in this game. Remember, last year, this game was down in Dothan, Alabama, and it was a little bit closer. Dothan is a very good up-and-coming team that made it to the second round of the playoffs. Remember, they upset some teams last year. They did lose to Auburn. They upset Foley in the first round. They lost to Auburn in the second round. But Dothan is one of those teams. They played Auburn tough. They only lost by 1 point, 28-27 to Auburn. So I think that this is going to be a closer game, but I am never picking against Central. Central should win this game, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think Dothan is going to keep it close. Looking at some of the other games, on Saturday, Russell County is going to take on the Poets of Sidney Lanier at the Cramden Bowl in Montgomery. Russell County is 0-5, trying to get their first region game of the season. We do have a lot of teams on a bye, but we also have some other teams to include. The Reeltown taking on Lynette. Reeltown is still undefeated. And you also have Dadeville taking on the Beulah Bobcats. Beulah is got 2 wins on the season. And so with that being said, high school football, week 8, it is going to be a jam-packed week. Now it's time for my top 10 for East Alabama and my top 10 for West Georgia. So I revealed this list on Monday's show. That was a first, but I was able to get that in there. So let's go. Number 1 in East Alabama, the Central Red Devils. I believe Central can win a state championship for 7A in Alabama. Thompson has already got a loss. And Thompson lost to Miguel Tulin, a 6A school, last week. Thompson takes on Hewitt-Trussville. Look, I know Thompson actually won a state title when they had 3 losses. But if you want to see seedings, if Central wants to get an overall number 1 seed, they got to run the table and they've got to go undefeated. And the path to get to Tuscaloosa, because that's where the state title is going to be, might be a little bit easier if Central can win out. If Thompson loses to Hewitt-Trussville, if they lose to Hoover, the path might be tougher for the Thompson Warriors, but I expect these 2 teams to be on a collision course and play in the state title. I thought it was going to happen last year, but Central got upset by the Auburn Tigers in the semifinals. All right, number 2, the Glenwood Gators. Glenwood looking strong after getting a big homecoming win, 48-12 over Valiant Cross last week. They are on the road taking on Monroe Academy. The Glenwood Gators have got a special quarterback, Dallas Crow, who is a dual threat quarterback who's got 20 touchdown passes, 11 touchdown runs. He just seems unstoppable, and he's got some weapons. Carter Judah, the sophomore running back, Camden White, who plays on both sides of the ball, great defensive back and wide receiver / running back. You also have Mason McCrane, who's a very good possession wide receiver. On the defensive side of the ball, Lamont Burton, he is one of the top defenders. He's always in on tackles. and then Camden White playing on that side of the ball. Samaje P. Ryan. Coach Nelson has got a juggernaut. Remember, this team last won a state championship in 1992. They went to the state championship and lost to Lee Scott Academy last season. They did redeem that loss by defeating Lee Scott Academy 42-31 a couple of weeks ago at the Swamp. Myself and Thrift Behringer were there on the call for Georgia Alabama Sports Live, and it was a great moment for the Glenwood Gators. All right, number 3, the Auburn Tigers. Auburn's only loss was to Enterprise, and that happened in week 2. And I talked to somebody that knows about Enterprise. There was a lot of mistakes made in that game. Auburn should have won. Auburn was tested against Dothan. They won by 1 point. But Opelika, they went 5-5 last year. When they made the transition to 7A, they are a good team. They were a playoff team in 6A. Opelika has got a gauntlet of a schedule, and this is really for seeding positions, because I think the top 4 teams that make the playoffs are going to be Central, Auburn, Dothan, and Opelika. I give Opelika a fighter's chance in this game. 2 years ago, Opelika played them close. And Roman Gagliano, he is poised. He is a veteran quarterback. He is ready to take the Opelika Bulldogs to the promised land over Auburn. And Opelika, I believe, is going to make the playoffs this year. This is going to be a fun game. I cannot wait for Auburn and Opelika at Bulldog Stadium in Opelika, Georgia. Number 4, Lee Scott. You know, after they lost to Glenwood, Lee Scott just continues to mow down teams like Autauga Academy, 38-12. And Lee Scott was able to beat Macon East. Lee Scott is one of those teams that they can run the table and have one loss, and we could end up seeing Lee Scott Academy and Glenwood in the state championship once again. Number 5, the Lochapoka Indians, 6-0, and I believe that Lochapoka is going to make a deep run in the state playoffs. Okay, number 6, Chambers Academy, another team that is continuing to roll. They lost to Lee Scott in their first week, and they just been rattling off win after win. I'm very impressed with what Chambers Academy has done. They will take on Abbeville Christian Academy today in Lafayette. They are 5-1 overall and 1-0 in the AISA AA. Remember, they're in AA. Glenwood and Lee Scott Academy are in AAA. So Chambers Academy could win a state title for AA. All right, number 7, the Valley Rams. Valley is looking very impressive. 4-1 on the season. Cam Dooley is their all-world quarterback who accounted for 5 touchdowns against the Russell County Warriors last week in a 40-14 win. They are going up to Lineville to take on Central of Clay, and that is going to be a massive region game for the Valley Rams. Number 8 is the Opelika Bulldogs that are hosting Auburn. They are 3-3 on the year, but look at their 3 losses. They lost to Thompson, Central, Theodore. All these teams compete for state championships. Number 9, the Eufaula Tigers. They are taking on Carroll. Eufaula is one of those sneaky teams that if you don't be careful, Eufaula can mess around and win a 5A state title. Eufaula is led by the former NFL player, Jarrell Jernigan, a great coach. And, you know, remember last year, Eufaula had a talented wide receiver that went to Alabama, Yanzi Pierre, a 4-star wide receiver. They can get players to Eufaula. 4-2 on the season, but they are 2-0 in the region. And they're getting ready to take on Carroll. This is on the road in Ozark, Alabama. But get ready, next week, a big showdown between Charles Henderson and Eufaula. I probably need to get Philip Jordan on the show. That is a wiregrass showdown right there. If I have never seen one, I have, definitely. All right, and finally, my number 10 team, and this was hard. This was hard to pick because I really like this team, the Beauregard Hornets. Beauregard 3-2 on the season. Their 2 losses were to Charles, Henderson, and Valley. They're 1-1 in the region. They are on the road taking on the winless Sylacauga Aggies. And so the blueprint is working at Beauregard. Remember, they came out of nowhere last year and won 10 games and made the playoffs. I love this Beauregard team. And that's it. That's my top 10 for East Alabama. Now let's cross on over to the Chattahoochee, other side of the river, and let's go to West Georgia. Now, when I do these top 10s, sometimes I get criticism because, well, why are you putting a 1A school above a 5A school? Well, hear me out. The criteria of doing this top 10 is which team has the best pathway to the state championship. All right, so starting with number 1, Schley County. I mean, is there anything that Schley County can't do except at this point win a state title? And they have a huge showdown in a couple of weeks against the Manchester Blue Devils. That could be the right to get a playoff seeding. And so I cannot wait for this game. I'm looking to see they are going to be playing Manchester on October the 20th in Schley County. They're actually taking on Greenville next week. They're currently on a bye, but the Schley County Wildcats looking pretty good so far with a 6-0 record. All right, number 2, Troup County. I'm putting Troup County up there, 6-1. I know they lost Teo Todd, but getting the 45-0 victory over Riverdale, I tell you that Troup County is all world, and they are number 2. Number 3, I got the LaGrange Grangers, as they have homecoming. They're taking on North Clayton. LaGrange is 4-2, but their 2 losses were to Carver of Atlanta, a team that competes for a state championship, and Stars Mill, one of the top teams in 4A. Number 4, I've moved them up. I know on Monday I talked about having them. I'm moving up. Harris County is number 4. I mean, they just cracked the top 25 for the rankings for 5A schools. Harris County is 5-1 after pulling off one of the biggest upsets of the high school football year in the Chattahoochee Valley, upsetting the 3A champion Sandy Creek. And they have a huge showdown tonight at Kinnett Stadium, taking on the Northside Patriots, who are 4-2. The winner of this game is going to be in a very good position in the region, and I cannot wait. Number 4, the Callaway Cavaliers, 3-2 on the season after getting a close win against Columbia. They are on a bye this week. Number 6, the St. Anne Pacelli Vikings got a huge game, the battle for the Brucelli Jug, as they will take on the Brookstone Cougars. Pacelli has rattled off 5 straight wins. They just got off a bye. Brookstone lost to Whitfield Academy last week. Brookstone is 2-3, and they would love to get the Brucelli Jug back to Brookstone. So, yeah, number 6 is Pacelli. Number 7, the Northside Patriots. Northside taking on Harris County. Number 8, Flint River Academy, undefeated on the year. And Flint River, they got a big win over Eufaula. And I'm looking at what Flint River has done. They are still undefeated on the year. We saw Flint River take on Calvary Christian a couple of weeks ago. They won that game 42-0. Flint River, they are actually on a bye after beating Skipstone Academy last week. They are going to take on Rock Springs Christian Academy out of Milner, Georgia, next week. So Flint River makes my top 10 list. Number 9, the Carver Tigers. Look, despite their record, they are 3-3 on the year. Carver, still a very good team, but they will be tested today taking on Thomasville. And finally, number 10, the Manchester Blue Devils. Manchester's only loss was to Lamar County, but I got to put them on this list because they beat the state champions Bowden in week 1. So come on. All right, that is my top 10 for East Alabama and my top 10 for West Georgia. And so what we are going to do now, we are going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, I will have my college football and NFL and Major League Baseball You don't want to go anywhere. It is the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge here live on WQEE 99.1 FM. The Key. We'll be right back. Okay,
Where's
please.
Mom's computer?
We are back here on the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge. Just a reminder that you are listening to us on home of Southern Sports, WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key. I'm so glad to be here. It is Friday. It is a high school football Friday. My high school football preview review show. And not too bad. I had some teams that were, that cracked my top 10, and we went through all the teams in the Chattahoochee Valley. Let's get into some college football because I believe we have got some teams on upset alert. As we go down the teams, I want to start with the local teams first here in and around the area. Let's start with the LaGrange Panthers. They are kicking things off. 1 o'clock kickoff at Callaway Stadium, taking on North Carolina Wesleyan. The Panthers trying to get their first victory of the season. The Point University Skyhawks, they are at home at Ram Stadium. Kickoff is at noon as Point is 2-3 on the season, taking on Bluefield of Virginia. And finally, West Georgia, 6 p.m. kickoff at University Stadium as they are 2-2 on the season. They are taking on West Alabama, and it is military and first responders night. So I guess if you have a military ID, you get to come in for free. I mean, that's usually how it should work, right? All right, now let's talk about Mercer. A big shout out to Mercer. They're 3-2 on the season. They are on the road taking on East Tennessee State. And then your independent team, the Kennesaw State Owls, they are making that transition to the Conference USA for 2024. And I actually think that Kennesaw State, they're having a tough season this year. They're struggling a little bit, but I think they'll be fine. I'm trying to see who they are playing as I'm trying to look and see who they're playing. They are taking on Tennessee State at Fifth Third Bank Stadium. Georgia Southern and Georgia State are both on a bye this week. Georgia Tech, boy, did they lost just a game they should have won against Bowling Green. Georgia Tech is taking on the Miami Hurricanes on the ACC network. Miami is a 20-point favorite. I think Miami, because they know that they can win this game. I know that Haynes Keene is a good quarterback and he could pass for 300 yards. Miami knows if they win this game, they got North Carolina, they got Clemson. They're not too worried about Virginia and NC State, but they got a showdown in November with the Florida State Seminoles. If Miami could just run the table and get to that game undefeated, the U is back. I will come out and say this. If Miami can beat North Carolina and Clemson, because I know that they're going to beat Georgia Tech, the U is back. I'm going to say it here on the show. All right, Georgia taking on Kentucky. I do have some thoughts about this game. I think Georgia's on upset alert. I'm actually putting them on upset alert until they prove me wrong. Because Kentucky has got a running back by the name of Ray Davis who rushed for over 250 yards against I'm trying to think of who they play. Yeah, Florida. They beat Florida 33-14. They embarrassed the Florida Gators. Florida is supposed to control the line of scrimmage. They're supposed to have better players. Georgia's favored by 2 touchdowns, and Georgia has a 22-game win streak. They got a big target on their back. They're expected to win, but what if Kentucky just runs the ball like Auburn did last week? Kentucky runs the ball and controls the clock and keeps Georgia on the sideline. That is the key ingredients to get a win. And I think that that could be a possibility. So, yes, I am putting Georgia on upset alert. All right. Alabama, they are ranked number 11. They are taking on a 4-1 Texas A&M team that is unranked. And could you believe this line? Alabama is only favored by 2.5 points. I have never seen that before. Usually Alabama is favored by at least a touchdown, but this is a different era. This is a different Alabama team. Yes, Alabama is capable of going into College Station and getting the victory over Texas A&M, but it is going to be close. And the experts think that is going to be less than a field goal game. So that means it's going to go down to the wire. That should be a fun game. But the noon kickoff is the Red River rivalry. Oklahoma and Texas, both teams undefeated. I can't officially say that Texas is back, but Texas, they're looking pretty good this season. I think that their body of work, they might be the best team in college football, but they're not going to give up that rank for the Georgia Bulldogs just because Georgia's not playing anybody, even though they had a close win against Auburn. But Oklahoma and Texas, Oklahoma lost this game 49-0 last year. Oklahoma did not have Dylan Gabriel in this game. Quinn Ewers, he is a seasoned quarterback. It's going to be a great offensive coordinator in Steve Sarkisian going up against a great defensive coordinator, Brent Venables. It is strength on strength. I think it's going to be a lot closer. Texas is favored by 5.5. Maryland is taking on Ohio State. Also a noon kickoff. This is the big noon kickoff with Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt. I love the big noon kickoff. I mean, finally we get to see somebody not named Colorado in the big noon kickoff. And Tua's brother actually having a pretty good year for the Maryland Terrapins. And Ohio State's got a freshman quarterback, but Ohio State should win this game. LSU, I'm putting you on upset alert. Missouri, hostile environment. You're taking on a quarterback in Brady Cook that doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes. So, yes, I am putting LSU on upset alert. All right, looking at some of the other scores, Washington State, I think that they're on upset alert against UCLA. UCLA is favored by 3.5. Well, that's not really an upset. And then you have Michigan taking on Minnesota on the road. Notre Dame taking on Louisville at nighttime. Louisville is 5-0. Notre Dame is favored by 6.5. And Arizona taking on USC. So you do have some teams out there that I'm putting on upset alert. All right, let's go ahead and move over to the National Football League. Last night, the Chicago Bears, they snapped a huge win streak, getting the win over the Washington Commanders 40-20. And Justin Fields, he's got a brand new weapon, DJ Moore. He had a great game for the Chicago Bears. He had 8 receptions, 230 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Why didn't I get this guy on my fantasy team? Justin Fields had 4 touchdowns, and I tell you what, if you let Justin Fields cook, he might be the answer at quarterback for the Chicago Bears. Justin Fields does have talent. I don't know what to say about the Washington Commanders. They started 2-0, and they have lost 3 straight. Ron Rivera is currently on the hot seat for the Washington Commanders. The Chicago Bears, this is a nice win. It was a road win, and they were able to get it after blowing a 28-7 lead over the Denver Broncos the week before. This was a nice win for the Chicago Bears. All right, the 9:30 kickoff game. Once again, Jacksonville, they're taking on the Buffalo Bills. The Bills have won 3 straight after losing to the New York Jets in week 1. Jacksonville, after getting the 23-7 win over the Atlanta Falcons. Buffalo is just hot. They're one of the best teams right now in all of football. In my power rankings, I've got them number 2 behind the San Francisco 49ers. I think Buffalo wins this game. All right, Tennessee and Indianapolis. Jonathan Taylor is back for the Indianapolis Colts. I know that Tennessee is a slight favorite. Take the home underdog, especially when you have a running back like Jonathan Taylor that's returning to the lineup. Anthony Richardson, he's in contention for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Him and C.J. Stroud look amazing as rookie quarterbacks. The New Orleans Saints taking on the New England Patriots team who got embarrassed by the Dallas Cowboys 38-3 last week. What does Colin Cowherd say about a good team that gets embarrassed? They always make adjustments. And because the Patriots are playing at home, I'm not a believer in Derek Carr. I think this could be a defensive battle between two great teams. And I think New England ends up winning that game. Baltimore and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is starting to go on the downtrend. They did lose to the 49ers week 1. And after losing to the Houston Texans last week, Baltimore, they look like a team that could go into Pittsburgh and get that win. In fact, they are favored by 4.5, so I see them winning that game. The Houston Texans and the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons are a slight favorite, but Houston might mess around and go into the bins and get a win because C.J. Stroud might go off, even though the Falcons' defense keeps them in games. I'm not a believer in Desmond Ridder until he could show me that he can get into third and long situations and make the throws to Drake London and Kyle Pitts. They do have a nice running back with Bijan Robinson, but that offensive line needs to protect Desmond Ridder. It keeps getting sacked way too many times, and I just don't know if Desmond Ridder is the answer at quarterback. Now, head coach Arthur Smith is sticking with Desmond Ridder, but time will tell. They've got to get a win here against Houston Texans. The next week, they take on the Washington Commanders. If this is a team you want to take seriously, that is a playoff team, because we felt this way after they started 2-0. Now they are 2-2. I don't know if this is a playoff team. All right, the Carolina Panthers still trying to get their first win of the season, taking on the Detroit Lions. An extra couple of days to prepare. The Lions are a 10-point favorite. I think the Lions get the win here. The Detroit Lions are for real. Jared Goff is going to be a Pro Bowl quarterback. Amon St. Brown is a weapon, and they're going to get Jamison Williamson back, and that is going to be another weapon. And they're not even utilizing their first-round pick, Jahmyr Gibbs. The New York Giants taking on the Miami Dolphins. And don't look now, the Dolphins are a good team. They just got exposed a little bit to Buffalo. Buffalo is a very good team. The Giants are terrible. The Giants got embarrassed at home against the Seattle Seahawks. The Dolphins, you remember when they put up 70 against the Denver Broncos? They could put up 80 against the Giants. This is how bad the Giants are. This is a battle of two, they could be good teams, but I'm not sure if they're good teams yet. The Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Arizona Cardinals. Bengals are a slight favorite. I don't see a situation where the Bengals are going 1-4, but Josh Dobbs shown that he can win games, especially in Arizona. Arizona could pull this game off because Josh Dobbs is not a terrible quarterback. He could actually get the job done. Here's a game where I think the Eagles win this game, but it would not shock me if the Rams ended up getting the victory. The Eagles just know how to win, but Puka Nacua, the wide receiver for the Rams, has really been a surprise, and I'm not sure if they're going to get Cooper Kupp back, but imagine the Rams offense with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp going up against this Eagles defense. Jalen Carter, he has got to be the defensive rookie of the year right now. If the season ended today and I was doing my awards, Jalen Carter is having a fantastic rookie season for the Philadelphia Eagles. New York Jets, Denver Broncos, somebody's got to win this game. Zach Wilson, he actually played decent against the Kansas City Chiefs Sunday night, but he did fumble. But he's got to play a perfect game. But the Broncos defense, you can move the ball on this Broncos defense. I'm not buying the Broncos as a team that's going to figure it out and ride the ship. Kansas City taking on the Minnesota Vikings. This game, we all know this is going to be the CBS primetime game. The Jets and Broncos look like it was going to be the CBS primetime game, but it's going to be the Chiefs and the Vikings. I think the Chiefs end up winning this game. And then the Sunday night football game, the rematch from the playoff games from the last two seasons. The Dallas Cowboys taking on the San Francisco 49ers in Levi Stadium. The Cowboys 3-1. They are a slightly different team after losing Trayvon Diggs to an injury for the rest of the season. They have the best defensive player in football, Micah Parsons, in my opinion. But pound for pound, the 49ers have the better roster. But can the Cowboys get all the intangibles right? Can they make big plays on defense, force a turnover, get a big special teams play? The Cowboys, they're a 4-point underdog. I'm not saying the 49ers are going to win this game because I do think the Cowboys have a chance to pull this game out because they need it more than the 49ers. This is going to be a huge game for Dallas because they do not want to go to 3-2, especially if the Eagles win against the Rams earlier. The 49ers, I think that the 49ers need this game too, because what if the Rams win? And what if the Seahawks, which they are on a bye and they are 3-1, you don't want the Seahawks that are right behind the 49ers to get momentum, and then the 49ers are playing the Seahawks in a 3-week period twice, and it could be a battle for the NFC West. No, you want to run away with this division. You want to get home field advantage. That is what the 49ers want to try to do. But the critics keep saying that Dak Prescott is a better quarterback than Brock Purdy. The sample size is Brock Purdy has already won 2 playoff games. Brock Purdy has won 9 of the starts where he started and finished, and he has the best quarterback rating in the NFL. He is not a flash in the pants. He is not a one-hit wonder. He is not a system quarterback. There's always talks, well, what if Christian McCaffrey got hurt? What if he didn't have George Kittle? Brock Purdy has all the intangibles from upstairs. He is the type of quarterback that can make the good decisions. He has not really made a bad decision yet. His worst game was probably when the Cowboys defense rattled him a little bit, but he didn't give away the game. He didn't cost his team the game by throwing a pick 6. I cannot wait for this game. Sunday Night Football, the Dallas Cowboys and the San Francisco 49ers. Hoping to have Gabe Reynolds on, and win or lose, I want to get him on just to talk about this game because I know he is a diehard Dallas Cowboys fan. And the Monday Night Football game is the Green Bay Packers taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. All right, we don't have a whole lot to go here in the show. I do want to talk about the Major League Baseball playoffs. They are set. The division series, they are all ready to go this Saturday. Let's start with the 1 o'clock game on FS1. The Texas Rangers, who were able to sweep the Tampa Bay Rays. That was the biggest shocker in the Major League Baseball playoffs. They are taking on the Baltimore Orioles, who have won 101 games. The Orioles have not won the World Series since 1983. I know that they have heavy hearts. They're playing for Brooks Robinson. I know that the Baltimore Orioles should be the favorites, but you can never count out the Texas Rangers, especially Bruce Bochy, as he is a big-time manager. And Texas, they last went to the World Series in 2011. That should be a fun game. The Minnesota Twins, who won their first playoff series in 18 games, they are taking on the Houston Astros. Like Rudy Tomjanovich says from the Houston Rockets, never underestimate the heart of a champion. The Houston Astros were supposed to be a number 5 seed. They were able to win 4 straight games and get the number 2 seed, and they could end up going to yet another ALCS. This has been incredible what the Houston Astros have done even after the cheating scandal and winning a World Series last year. Dusty Baker winning his first World Series, getting rid of Justin Verlander, and then all of a sudden, hey, we'll just take them back. I mean, that's the type of team the Houston Astros are. All right, the game you've all been waiting for, especially here in Georgia. The Philadelphia Phillies going to Truist Park, game 1 to take on the Atlanta Braves. As I'm doing this show, and this is live on WQEE, I still don't know who the starting pitchers are going to be for the Braves and the Phillies. I'm hoping Spencer Strider pitches game 1. I'm not sure if it's going to be Zach Wheeler or Aaron Nola for the Phillies. My takeaway on this game, and then on Columbus Day, when the Phillies will take on the Braves in game 2. Braves got to win both games. I'm saying it right now. If the Braves go to Philly 1-1, I am going to get nervous about the Phillies closing it out exactly how they did it last year. Ranger Suarez beat Max Fried last year in game 1. Now, Kyle Wright pitched a gem in game 2. And then I do believe Spencer Strider is going to be a better postseason pitcher. That's why you give him the nod for game 1. He was a little rattled in game 3. Charlie Morton pitched game 4. I think the pitching is a little bit better this time around for the Braves. But the Phillies, that's the team you don't want to face. The Philadelphia Phillies are a team that, is a thorn in the Braves side, and Bryce Harper is a Braves killer. Anyway, finally, the nightcap on TBS, the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers. So the Dodgers last year, they had the overall number 1 seed. They were riding high into the playoffs, and they got upset by the San Diego Padres. The Padres were just on a mission. They upset the Mets, and they upset the Dodgers. The Dodgers only have the one World Series to show for it. Clayton Kershaw is not getting any older. And I know they have MVP caliber players, but they're not going to win it. Mookie Betts is not winning the MVP. Freddie Freeman, Max Muncy, Gavin Lux. I mean, the Dodgers did lose a lot of players, Cody Bellinger and Justin Turner, but the Dodgers just keep winning. And as much as I would love to see the NLCS be the Braves and the Dodgers, I'm rooting for the Diamondbacks hard in this game because these are division rivals. You got Arizona, LA, Diamondbacks. They make the playoffs every now and then. They haven't really been to their greatness like they were when they won the World Series in 2001. But I like seeing the Diamondbacks in the playoffs, and good for the state of Arizona. That is the Major League Baseball playoffs. We do have time, just a little bit, to get into the WNBA Finals. Game 1 this Sunday on ABC. The New York Liberty taking on the Las Vegas Aces. I'm a big fan of stars, and both teams have stars. Breanna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu for the Liberty, Asia Wilson, Kelsey Plum, Candace Parker for the Las Vegas Aces. If there is ever a time where I would be tuned to watching the WNBA, it would be this time, because you have Vegas, New York, you got big markets, you got eyeballs on two very popular teams. Both coaches were former players. And on that note, it has been announced that there will be a WNBA team in the San Francisco Bay Area in 2025. They will be playing their games at the Chase Center, and they will be called the Golden State something, probably something similar to the Warriors. And this is the first Northern California WNBA team since the Sacramento Monarchs. They left a long time ago. I actually went to a Monarchs game. That was the only WNBA game I ever went in my career. And don't forget, as we wrap up this show, NBA preseason is next week. Actually, it already started. We had a game in Abu Dhabi as the Minnesota Timberwolves defeated the Dallas Mavericks 111-99. I do want to talk a little bit about NBA on this show because I'm going to have my NBA preview show. I'm going to predict all of the seeds, number one all the way into the play-in. And with Drew Holiday going to the Celtics, Celtics look like a favorite in the East. Over in the West, I think it's wide open. You got the defending champion Denver Nuggets. You got the Phoenix Suns with Bradley Beal. You got a Lakers team that's determined to avenge that Western Conference Finals loss, getting swept by the Denver Nuggets. And they have a chance to do it. Opening night in Denver is going to be October the 24th on TNT. The Los Angeles Lakers taking on the Denver Nuggets, a rematch of the Western Conference Finals. Nuggets are going to reveal their championship banner, get their championship rings. A big shout out to Greenville's Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. He's going to get another ring. And that's going to be a fun game because the Lakers, Anthony Davis with that contract extension, Austin Reeves is the point guard of the future, Rui Hachimura, Darvin Ham in his second year as the coach. I think the Lakers are one of the top teams in the West, even though LeBron is about to turn 39, entering his 21st season. LeBron is on a mission. He wants to play with his son. LeBron is going to try to win another chip for the Los Angeles Lakers. And the Sunday night game, or the nightcap, the Phoenix Suns taking on the Golden State Warriors. Kevin Durant taking on his former team. The Warriors have Chris Paul taking on his former team. So the 4 teams that are playing on Tuesday night, I believe those are the 4 top teams in the West. So we get a treat. We get all those teams playing opening night. I got to tell you, this has been a fantastic show. I want to thank Ryan O'Neal back at the station. He's been in contact with me in the chat room, just telling me everything. And I really appreciate, him being, a great producer for this show. And I want to thank him for allowing me to be in the studio this morning. And stay tuned for Braves Country Today with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. He's coming on live, too. I know he's going to preview that upcoming playoff series between the Braves and the Phillies. So that is going to be it for me. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching another episode of the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge. Enjoy all the games. Friday Night Lights, high school football. It's coming up in a couple of hours. I know we are all excited about that. Stay tuned for that. And I hope everybody has a great weekend. We will talk to you later.